Does it matter if there's an error? Where does it matter that the content must be translated absolutely perfectly or as perfectly as a human might make it? Is there any risk to the brand? Is there any risk to any assets? Is there any risk to human life? So you probably find that more of the life science companies may be more risk averse in that area than some of the others.
Let's pull on the low code, no code thing, Arl. So maybe to sort of explain what that is, that's certainly, we've gone down that path of no code, low code workflow builders, as opposed to the sort of like rigid workflow, like workflow template type things that you've had in TMS. Tell us
Yeah.
like what that means and what examples of that you've seen of businesses who have been able to either bypass a TMS or like, what are they thinking?
So the traditional approach would have required you to build something into a TMS, and it would have had some sort of configurable, but still constrained by what the TMS offers sort of workflows. You might have a template that you could tweak some variables, you connect into some systems. You hope that they have connectors for your systems. If you don't, you pay their professional services organization a grundle of money to add a connector. It's just not a flexible approach. Now, when we look at these low code, no code things, often what they have is basically a GUI. You draw out the steps, you draw out your conditionals, and they'll have connectors or they'll have hooks into other things that have connectors, and you're able to customize this and get it to work. So an example I've seen was, this was from a vendor, but it was based on one of their real things, was a company that added to Slack the capability that if you responded to a message with a flag, and yes, I know you're not supposed to use flags to represent languages and all that, but if you responded with a German flag, it would then proceed to translate in Slack that into German, which can be tremendously useful for somebody who's working in Slack, but that's not a use case that you would normally have expected a TMS to handle. And then there would be options, if you wanted it reviewed, you could do something and it would spin off a process to get it reviewed and bring it back to you in Slack. So that's a great example of the flexibility you get with these approaches. And you can do that without having somebody who knows the ins and outs of every API and is sitting there writing, a C++ module to build this for you or whatever your language of choice.